Hello, good evening Tacloban, good evening Philippines, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, and good morning and good afternoon to some other parts of the world. Once again, this is your Coach Bessie,
Coach Ariel.
and you are now here on Kingdom
Kingdom
Talk
Talk.
Philippines.
Yeah.
Hello, good afternoon to you.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Sir Ella, our familia in Ohio.
Right now, it's evening here in the Philippines.
Yes.
Yes, blessings to everyone.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yes.
Yes.
And thank you very much once again.
Are we
for,
on the...
Mhm. Yes, we are on air. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to introduce our guest.
That's right.
And I believe that this is your time to introduce our guest in this program here in Kingdom Talk.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Leah Ramneth is an international speaker, world traveler, and environmental and social scientist.
Wow.
After graduating from Florida International University with her bachelor's in environmental science, Leah took the time to travel the world to experience different cultures
Wow.
and see how her understanding of environmentalism fit into a broader global context.
Wow.
During this time, she learned more about herself rather than global applications of environmental stewardship, seeing a lack of connection between her source of life and breath, God. She decided to attend the Bethel Supernatural School of Ministry in Redding, California. After establishing an authentic relationship with God, she was then led to attend Humboldt State University to pursue a master's degree
Wow.
in political ecology. She connects environmentalism, ecology, and ethics to convey this message.
Wow.
The power of multidimensional restoration lies in the hands of the individual and therefore gives extreme significance to every single human life on earth. Further, she believes that people have been misinformed about who God is, and they just need to be reminded and educated
Yes.
on how to fulfill their purpose in life through a flourishing relationship with Him.
Wow.
She has organized events and worked with numerous nonprofits that further her vision of being a more socially just environmentalism alongside people who are fulfilled by Jesus' love.
Wow.
She works with people of all ages in hopes of spreading the idea that Earth's restoration can be fueled by educating people about their role within the larger context of global systems and how to apprehend their rightful place in society through the authentic love of God.
Yes.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes.
She is golden nuggets to give to everybody today. Get your pens and paper ready.
Yes.
Yes.
And blessings, Coaches Ariel and Pressy. Blessings to everyone around the world.
Yes.
Leah Ramnett.
Wow. Thank you, Sister Ella, for that
Thank
introduction.
Yes.
Thank you.
And stay safe and blessing
Thank
to you,
you.
familia. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Wow,
So
Coach
that
Tracy.
was our familia in Ohio, Sister Ella Silva, the Agents for Change in Ohio.
Yes,
So,
Coach Tracy.
Coach Ariel, I can't wait anymore to hear from Leah Ramnath for tonight, and I am encouraging everyone, just like what Sister Ella tells us, to get ready with our notebooks or our pen, or you can type whatever you want in the comment
So
section.
the message that we're playing today is it is recorded earlier because we experienced some internet I think it's difficulties. So we encourage our guests to send us for now a video recorded so that we can play it in good quality here in this program, Kingdom Talk.
Hello, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. I'm Leah Ramnath, and this is my second time on Kingdom Talk. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Ariel and his family for having me on here for another time. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be on the show. Today I just really wanted to talk about how to be yourself, and I feel like this is a really important topic because, I mean, it's something that we hear, but it's more of like a pleasantry rather than something of substance or something that really matters. And I hope you guys, I've been on the show before and I talked about vulnerability, the power of vulnerability, and empathy and compassion. And I'm going along the same lines as that today, and it's kind of the anthem for my life. I mean, it is the anthem for my life. I always say if anything, if I want to be vulnerable, I really have to embrace empathy and compassion. And what that really means is that if I am honest with others, if I'm honest with myself to myself, then I can be empathetic towards other people. I can be compassionate towards other people. And I really feel like this new generation of leaders are marked by vulnerability, are marked by what they want to give, by who they want to give to, or just the simple notion of I want to give, I want to serve the community around me. Especially right now during COVID-19, the global pandemic, you see a lot of philanthropic kind of actions that are being carried out by, people of influence, everyday people. And I think one thing that's really amazing is that a really compassionate and empathetic act is to stay in your house right now. And I think it's cool. What it really means is that to be empathetic and compassionate and to show vulnerability, it is by thinking about other people, right? So this is an act of empathy and compassion where you're just like, okay, I know that I am not infected, I'm not experiencing any symptoms or anything, but I'm still not going to go outside for the benefit of everybody else. So that people know, to take this seriously, so that people are safe, so that I'm safe. So empathy and compassion it essentially just kind of creates this protection around everybody. And it makes everybody feel safe. So I think that's just one of the natural characteristics of vulnerability, or one of the natural kind of processes of vulnerability, is that it produces these feelings of safety and the truth that you are safe. So that's just one of the examples of it, but it really shows kind of the ubiquity of vulnerability, of showing empathy and compassion. So what does vulnerability, empathy, and compassion have to do with how to be yourself, right? First, I suppose second, I'll start off with, in order to really embrace vulnerability, you have to be vulnerable with yourself about who you are and who you claim to be, or rather, who you view yourself to be. How do you look at yourself? Do you think you're a good person? Do you think that you're smart? Do you think that you're handsome, beautiful? Do you think that you're capable of making your dreams come true? There's other things too, defining characteristics of just I am patient, I am kind, I am generous, etc., etc. These little characteristics in our lives that should be shown through the things that we do, through the actions that we do. But then there's these different points in our lives where we have these pivotal moments where we really become ourselves. So the importance of being yourself is really so that you can encourage other people to be themselves. So I can only talk from my perspective, right? Because I am myself. And I can say that I am unapologetically who I am. There's no time or place where I would ever be trying to pose as someone else or do something that is outside of my own nature, right? And this is parallel to my identity being anchored in the image of Jesus Christ, right? So because my identity is anchored in Jesus' identity, I try my best to align my human characteristics with Jesus's characteristics. So first of all, I thought Jesus was a funny guy. He had to be funny. He was Jesus Christ. If there's anyone that exemplifies like the love of God, one thing, our personalities are going to be different. So like if somebody says she thinks Jesus was funny, that's blasphemy. It's not heresy. Please don't burn me at the stake, right? But from my view, the way that I connect to the Holy Spirit, God, and Jesus, it's through humor. So I think that Jesus he had to be a hilarious guy. He was hanging out with 12 bros. So, I mean, there could not have not been jokes told in that friend circle, you know? So I think that Jesus is hilarious. I think, and I know that he's kind, he's generous, he's a hard worker, working on the Sabbath. He stands for justice. He devotes his time to meditation, so he's contemplative. He was well educated, so he was very smart. He was well informed, studying as a rabbi, you know. Okay, so I mean, these are the things that I try to align myself with, right? I'm not trying to be Jesus, but I know that I am Christ-like because I've been reborn and remade in his love, co-resurrected with Jesus. So every day, this is the alignments that I try to do, and I tweak things on a regular basis, and of course I get triggered, but trying to find homeostasis when I do get triggered, that's another day, that's another discussion. But definitely, I feel like also Jesus was emotionally intelligent, and he really characterized vulnerability, and he was unashamedly himself, you know. He was like, I am the Son of God. I am he was Jesus, you know. He was saying his name, and he spoke the truth, and he wasn't ashamed of his truth because that was his duty, right? To be himself was to save humanity. So to be yourself would be a key to saving humanity. But the thing is, the whole responsibility of saving humanity is not resting on your shoulders. Don't be burdened by that. If you are occupied with becoming who you are, you will be doing your part with making heaven come on earth, which is essentially what we're supposed to be doing here right now. So what if our whole thought process wasn't so much about developing a career or really kind of geared towards like creating these enterprises for ourselves and purposefully creating like a lineage of legacy behind us, and what if that was more of an intuitive thing where it's like if you focus on being yourself, then all these things will follow, right? And part of being yourself, especially the beginning stages, is that anchor point, that point of reference that you go back to so that you remind yourself who you are. And for me, it is Jesus Christ. It is, I call it the pillars of remembrance, where I go back to these moments where I've had intimate moments with Jesus, where I have experienced the resurrection with him, experienced his crucifixion with him, and this is a moment that you can embark on by yourself, where you know you open the scriptures to whichever moment in Jesus' life that you want to experience with him, and you open the Bible, you read it, you meditate on it, and then just say, okay, Jesus, I want to experience this moment in your life with you. Please take me there. Let's bond, you know. I know that it's like easy for me to say this because it's just something that I've done for like forever. But every other day I basically relive a moment with Jesus. And it's something that it seems, when you first start, it's kind of feels weird, you know. It feels like it's going against your nature as like a human being, but it's not. Because we are supposed to be corresponding with Jesus. We are supposed to be like bonding with the Holy Spirit and asking for their counsel and things like that. We have to have these moments with Jesus Christ. We have to have these moments with the Trinity. So although it may feel unnatural at the beginning, it becomes natural, like most things, right? Like when you jump into a really cold pool, it feels cold at first, but then your body starts to acclimate to the temperature. So essentially you're acclimating yourself to the supernatural. And in that's how we really unify our body, mind, soul, and spirit, right? Jesus Christ is the unifier. He's the equalizer of our different parts of our bodies and being. And try it, you know, get the scriptures out, see what moment you want to relive with Jesus, and just invite him. And he will come, because he always will. He will always come through. So I think that's very key to being yourself, is bonding with the person of Jesus Christ. And it's like in that moment, you learn how much he loves you. You learn how much he cares and how much he wants you just to be yourself, how much he just wants you to be happy. And simply put, like, happiness is just being alive, being yourself, in the truth that you were co-resurrected with Jesus. Obviously, I love Jesus. And baby steps, you know. Again, it was really weird for me at first, but it's natural now. It's kind of like a thing that I do on a regular basis, and then I journal about it. Another key thing to how to be yourself is that you really have to kind of establish these like daily kind of tasks. And again, I will say this like 1,000 times, everyone's different, and I can only talk from my perspective. What I do is I set up daily tasks where I journal, I meditate, and I work out. And in these 3 things, it's just like, with journaling, I check in with myself. With meditating, I check in with Jesus, the Holy Spirit. And I forgot what the 3rd thing I said is. Workout. And that one's for my body, right? Because I care about myself. I love myself. A huge thing about becoming yourself is that you have to learn how to love yourself. And honestly, it's kind of hard. I'm not gonna lie. It's hard to like yourself at the beginning. And for some people, it's intuitive. It happens right away. But for other people, you really have to learn. You really have to learn how to love yourself. And that takes, it takes a higher power. Because honestly, if I were using my human kind of like perspective, it would be impossible, because I would fall short of so many things. And just being in the system of capitalism, where my utility kind of generates my value, I would be really low on that narrative, on that thought process and that system. But I'm in the kingdom of heaven, so my value is tied to Jesus Christ dying on the cross for me, because I was worth it. All of humanity was worth it. So there's so many things. There's so many things. So being in these systems like capitalism, or different kind of like government systems or whatever, or even religious systems, or aesthetic systems and things like that, there's an idealized self in which it's given to us. Like, our identities are given to us. If you are born in a family who are they're superstar athletes, your identity is to be a superstar athlete, right? Because this is the environment that we're in. We're product of our environment, what have you. If you're in the school, right? You're gonna want to be some sort of professional, right? Maybe a scientist, maybe a geologist, you want to be a teacher, something like that. But the thing is, like, our identity and who we are authentically as people, it's not necessarily our professional lives, right? Or idealized selves, where it's just like, I will feel complete, I will feel at peace, because a lot of things that we do is driven by like the need or want to have or be in total peace, so that we can just kind of get rid of this internal dissonance and discomfort of just like, okay, here's where I want to be, but here's where I am. To get away from that, it's hard, especially when you're in the system all the time, or like, you know, the news is constantly going on, producing these kind of like highly stylized to influence us to do more, to work hard, to abide by the law, etc., etc. And these external forces really shape who we are, right? But the thing is, if you realize, like, again, if you're in the kingdom of heaven, this is the system that we live by. And our idealized self is just us. And then that alone is just like, you realize like you are intrinsically just automatically valuable. I love Brene Brown and I love Russell Brand, and I think they're wonderful people, and they are like these spokespeople for how to be your authentic selves. You know, there's Jesus, Russell Brand, and then Brene Brown when it comes to vulnerability and true authenticity when it comes to becoming yourself. So here's a quote by Brene Brown. I love Brene Brown. Brene Brown. You guys have to look her up. She has a TED Talk. It's had almost like 30 million views on it. It's amazing. It's called The Power of Vulnerability, or Vulnerability and Power, one of those. Highly recommend that you look at that. It's incredibly inspiring. So she says, let go of who you are. Let go of who you think you're supposed to be and embrace who you are. So this is going back to like the idealized self, and it's just like, who do you think you're supposed to be? Like, just embrace who you are. Because a lot of times, like, if we want to be like our parents or we want to be like our friends, what we do is like we ignore these different facets of ourselves that are completely like individualized and unique to ourselves. We ignore that part, and like we're just sad. We're upset, we're angry, we're short-fused because we're not in a place where we are even stewarding our own unique identities. Russell Brand says, liberate yourself from the idea that people are watching you. And I think this is a huge factor that plays into how we behave and how we like metabolize information to like what shapes who we are internally. The idea that people are watching us, that's not a thing. People like, I mean, I guess, I don't know. See, I'm so far detached from a socially constructed sense of self. What that means is like, I don't care. I do care. I love everybody. I love you all. But it's when it comes to myself, if something doesn't feel right, or if I get some sort of critique from someone, I will extrapolate all the information necessary for use, right? But if it comes to something that's like a character flaw with me, I'm just like, I don't think that's necessarily true, because people looking from the outside in, they do have a good perspective, right? Because we're always inside of ourselves all the time in our own thoughts and our own processes. But they only get a partial look into our lives. They have not seen us from like the beginning of our lives until now. That's only you and Jesus. So I mean, like, I think we really need to focus on having a relationship with Jesus Christ, because this is the only, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, the Trinity, God, who knew you before you were born. So this is why I feel like the kingdom message is quite possibly the best message, because it gets to the identity pieces, and we are not so much working for money, we're not so much working for approval of others, whatever. We are working on ourselves to be ourselves, to serve our gifts so heaven can come on earth, because the goal is to get heaven on earth. And the most important thing, in order to get heaven on earth, we need to be ourselves. I will not follow a person who is just like constantly aware of just like how many other people are looking at them, or who are really caught up in viewership or membership numbers and things like that. or people who are constantly just like looking at the comments or how many likes they get, people who are constantly on their phones. I love people who give themselves, where it's just like, I am so taken up by my life's purpose, and I know I've been through the process of the ongoing process of finding who I am, and in these moments I want to share with people my process. Like right now it's just like, this is who I am. I just want to share all this information with you guys, because like I do feel there are moments where I do feel like really upset, because I just don't feel like I'm necessarily in the right space, place, and time where I can fully just like evolve to become myself, or in a place that stewards my gifts, or what have you. And like, yeah, I can make a place hospitable enough so that I can flourish, right? But it's not necessarily like my process of how I do things. So there's a lot. But like I think one of the best things you can do for yourself, especially for those who are in the kingdom. I mean, you're listening to this video, to this broadcast, right? To the Kingdom Talk. Wonderful. Which is kind of like indicative that you are kingdom minded or will be soon. And I think one of the best things that you could possibly do is go back to the book, our Constitution, the Bible, and learn about your history, learn about your heritage, and let that be a springboard into who you are supposed to be. Of just like, okay, Jesus is like that, and like this resonates in my soul. And we're not picking these different parts of Jesus, because holistically we make the body of Christ. So what I do is I go back to the Bible, and I go into every piece of the Bible is meant for us, especially New Testament. But there's this one book that I know, like I wholly 100% believe it was written for me. And like Jesus had me in mind, like Holy Spirit was like, okay, she's at the age now where she's really gonna look at the chapter that we wrote for her, and God's like, oh my God, so like he's so excited that I'm about to read my chapter, my promise in the Bible, his letters to us, and it's Haggai, and I can't tell you how many times, like since I was saved when I was 15, 16, I just skipped over the book because I knew it was in there. I just didn't know it existed. You know what I mean? It's one of those hidden books that are in there, And the thing is, it's only 2 chapters long, and it goes into kind of like an overview of the entire Old Testament and the promise of the New Testament. And there's a lot. It was just so, I feel like it was personally tailored to me, and I'm just always moved whenever I open the book, because it reminds me of like where I've been, where I'm going, and just like a promise of a future that is so tangible, So let's see. I'm just gonna read. The rest is just gonna be me reading. I hope you don't mind it. But it's Haggai. I'm reading from Haggai 2. So basically he's just saying like everyone gets blessings. There's even a chapter here that says blessings for defiled people, right? This is a NIV, so the word choice is strange. And I mean, throughout the entire thing, he's like, from this day on, I will bless you. And in this place, I will grant peace. This is Haggai 2, chapter 2, verse 8. The silver is mine, the gold is mine, declares the Lord Almighty. The glory of this present house will be greater than the glory of the former house, says the Lord Almighty. And in this place I will grant peace. At the end, it says, verse 20, the word of the Lord came to Haggai a second time on the 24th day of the month. Tell Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, that I will shake the heavens and the earth. I will overturn royal thrones and shatter the power of the foreign kingdoms. I will over their chariots and their drivers, horses and their riders will fall, each by the sword of his brother. On that day, declares the Lord Almighty, I'll take you, my servant Zerubbabel, son of this name here, Shealtiel, declares the Lord, and I will make you like my signet ring, and I have chosen you. For I have chosen you. And okay, so like it's not a long chapter. Highly recommend you read it, but I really feel like it goes into like this kind of Cliff Notes version of the entire Old Testament, the promise of, like I said before, of the future for us as his children, as his heirs to his throne. We are all kings in his kingdom, and we have like rights, we have blessings, we have the right to be in peace, we have the right to know what's ours, you know. So it's super important that we tie ourselves back to our heritage, that we tie ourselves back to an account in the Bible, right? So that we know where we came from. Like even in my own like natural family, I look back and I'm just like, okay, so we're from India, so I mean, like, I love curry. I think everybody loves curry, but because of my heritage, I'm more proud that I know how to make it. You know, I'm more proud that I know how to make roti. You know, because I am like a descendant of India, and even more proud of being Trinidadian too, my closer heritage culturally. Because it's a small island. Not many people are from Trinidad, so I mean, like, there's so many reasons why you need to know your heritage, because it gives you this sense of pride. And if you have pride in something, then you will like search it out. You like sparse through it and really try to understand like where you came from, and that'll give you these like points of reference of who you're supposed to be, right? Or rather, who you are. Who you are rather than who you're supposed to be. So I guess that's it's a lot. I just word vomited at you guys, but I hope there was something in there that you guys can extrapolate from. And you know, if you guys have any questions or you just want to have a chat, just write to me on Facebook, Leah Ramnath. I will do my best to write back to you. But you know, you just be yourself. It doesn't matter about your exterior circumstances. What really you need to work on, especially during this time where you have the time to, you know, research your heritage or do things that bring you pure joy. You know, like reading books or watching movies, whatever. Being away from people, this is an opportune time because you're really away from these defining like exterior things of work, school, your friends, other family members. You're by yourself. And it's during this time where it's just like absolutely opportune moments to understand who you are and then embrace who you are, you know? So that's all I got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Yeah. Again, if you want to have a chat or something, just let me know. God bless you. And, you know, I hope you guys really hone in on this opportune moment to get to know yourself so that you can bring heaven on earth in that way. All right. I love you all. See you guys.
Wow, Coach Pressy, it was a powerful message.
That's right, Coach Ariel, and I believe that this young lady is really the ambassador for the next generation.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And once again, this is Coach Ariel.